Coke. Like, yeah, every other like cola tastes exactly the same, but I see that one the most. So look at that. I'm grabbing that.
Wait, sorry, are you just clicking that Coke? Yeah. Sorry, computers have confused me.
Sorry, it's like the Internet Explorer of cola products. You understand, right? Like, no, I don't. Get the fuck out of my store. Oh, okay.
It's kind of like when you've been reading books or comics on like a tablet for a while. I literally got to this point, I was holding a physical book in my hand, and I swiped it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not how it was just like, after a while, you just got so used to it. Because that's the thing is, like, I remember the first time I ever had one of those digital books, it felt awkward. It felt like you were doing something wrong. And then after about a half an hour or so, you get kind of used to it. And then you kind of realize, you're like, this is actually kind of nice. As long as you got a good tablet and you got these books, hey, you got it here. You can put bookmarks anywhere you want. And on comics, it's even better because, you don't get spoiled by anything. Mm-hmm. But then you come back to real life, and then it throws you off.
No, like, what was I going to say real quick? I know we're probably going to talk about the new Scott Snyder Batman book. And this episode's probably really Batman packed when it gets down to it, like just the whole week is. But I mean,
I feel like it's just going to be like the month of Batman. Because we got Batman all the way up to like Justice League versus the Teen Titans in 2 weeks.
Oh, I thought that came out like this week.
No, because this week what came out on Blu-ray was Hateful Eight. And then next week...
Oh, really? How'd that slide up on me?
Yeah, sure. I picked it up. Have yet to watch it yet, because that's one of those ones where it's like, you gotta have some time to kick back and watch that one again, but I can't wait.
If I knew that was out, I would've got that today, shit.
Hopefully it's got... Yeah, I literally picked it up today. I got it a day late. And then next week... Star Wars comes out. And then the week after that, it's Justice League versus Teen Titans. So make sure you got your wallets ready, everybody!
Well, my paycheck is totally fucked in that case. No, I thought that the Justice League vs. Teen Titans came out like this Tuesday or something. So I'm like, I hope he didn't watch it because I got nothing to fucking say for the podcast about that. But on this Batman talk, I'm not sure if I ever told you about this, but actually, first off, did you see the trailer to the? It sounds so weird because most of these straight to DVD like Cartoon Network shit's bullshit, but the one go to theaters, which is linked to the Lego movie, actually looks pretty funny. Did you see the trailer to with Will Arnett voicing them? There's two of them. Did you see it?
Oh, the Batman trailer for the Batman Lego movie?
It, for every reason, should suck, but it's really good.
I don't know why we missed not talking that on last episode or whatever, Batman v Superman, because that's where I saw it at, but for some reason, I guess I kind of forgot about it after the movie was done. That one looks really good. The Lego movie is one of those like golden gem flicks where... But it's just pure magic, and I feel that like it's almost like the older you are, the better that movie is. I mean, there's probably a certain age where it kind of caps off at. I'd probably say if you're probably like past about 40 or so, then that's where it could probably start getting to a point where you might not care nearly as much. But man, was that just such a magical movie, and just that was one of those movies. Like I don't remember the last time. I don't think I've even cried that hard while laughing at a scene, except for that Lego movie, because when there was Batman and Lando, and Batman turns everybody and tells his girlfriend that sometimes there's, some things you got to do between a man and another man that you can't let a woman in. And if some guy tells you don't know, gets on his spaceship to go cruising the galaxy, you just let him be. And to me, it's just, maybe it was just like the ultimate Batman fan in us, just meeting just the perfect moment combined with Star Wars and Legos, that it all just came out perfectly. But I just remember like dying laughing. It's just, oh my God, it just doesn't get better than that. So a whole movie.
And that was one of those moments where that was actually hidden. I was not at all expecting Millennium Falcon to show up, even if it was a bit part. I was not expecting that. So what the fuck when that shows up, and then Billy D. Williams is actually voicing Lando.
See, and that goes back to another thing with lots of these movies we see nowadays. That was another trailer that had so many, the movie had so many surprises in it that weren't all spoiled in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Unlike Batman v Superman, which I think, really, I think if that movie, if it didn't have, like, if it didn't show half the movie in the trailer, I really think people probably would have walked out of that movie a little bit more excited. Like, if you, okay, you could have some casting news. Apparently, Wonder Woman's going to be in Batman v Superman, but you just assume off the top of your head, okay, she'll be like, Diana Prince or whatever. You're not going to think anything of it. She'll just be there in her, like, alter ego. Don't even show her in the trailer. Just maybe that'll be a rumor. And then all of a sudden, you get that part at the end of the movie where first off, when Bruce sees her in the picture from 1918, then you cut to later at the movie when she's actually in the full armor. Like, imagine how much of like, holy fuck, she's in the movie too. That would.
Well, if you did not know that, that would be such a magical moment, especially for the people too that maybe like they know who Wonder Woman is, but they don't really know anything else. So throughout watching the movie, they wouldn't really realize that's Wonder Woman right off the bat. They would just think, oh, that's just somebody else. Maybe that's that Catwoman girl, or you know what I mean. Like the average audience member might not know. So that when they finally do show her in there, it'd be a magical moment. And I say this for like a lot of movies, even Deadpool. Deadpool was guilty of having a trailer that showed the entire movie in its trailer. I mean, obviously it's a comedy one, so you got all sorts of other gags and stuff. But the downfall is,
truth be told, Deadpool was a better. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I'm just saying, it's just like, because the thing about Deadpool is like there was no surprises left in it. It was just like they put them all in there. It's like maybe Colossus should have not been shown in the trailer and saved him for the movie. Or I really wish they just kind of would have thrown a couple more things in there. Once again, I love the Deadpool movie. I'm not saying anything against it, but it's these things that like the trailers, and it goes all the way back to like Terminator 5. That's another one too, where it's just like shouldn't have spoiled the John Connor thing. I think that would have made the movie such a more magical experience. Just going, oh fuck, this guy that we've known and loved our entire life that we thought we could always count on to save us is now he's been infected, and it's technically not the real John Connor. It's more like machine John Connor now. But still, that all that surprise would have been so cool to see that without knowing the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I think like, well, first off, I think Deadpool was a little bit of a better movie, but I don't think that movie was riding so much on all like the guess who's in it, guess who's in it. 'Cause that's what Batman was doing. Batman v Superman was really relying on Doomsday. We got Wonder Woman. We got all these snapshots of Dark Knight Returns, where it should have just really just been way more tight-lipped about the whole thing and just not advertise. Oh, by the way, Aquaman has a scene. Oh yeah, for a minute. Flash has a scene. Oh yeah, it was cool, but I mean that was one of the few parts that actually kind of surprised me. But I knew he was going to be there and there to some extent. So
yeah, well, I definitely think with that too. I mean, I'll probably say I actually probably like Batman versus Superman at least just as much as Deadpool, maybe just a tad bit more. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Deadpool a lot, but maybe that's just, I don't know.
I guess I did not walk out of Deadpool really complaining. I guess I could say, oh, that'd be cool if there's like another character, like more X-Men characters in there or whatever. But when it gets down to it, though, well, I guess as well as like I think that Deadpool could have had like maybe another character here and there. That doesn't really kill the movie for me. But I didn't walk out of that movie really complaining. Where even though I did enjoy, like, we're some of the only few defenders of that movie. Well, actually, we're not one of the few defenders. There's actually a lot of. But
no, because actually, like, okay, today I signed on a petition because apparently some other douchebag out there in the world made a petition that said Zack Snyder shouldn't be allowed to direct any more like superhero movies, blah 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 blah. And I signed a petition from some dude in Norway that was the exact opposite, that said, no, let Zack Snyder direct the next Justice League one. He doesn't have to direct every single one, but come on. And this was like from somebody who was a big defender of Batman versus Superman. Well, he's also from Norway, so he felt like he was, practically related.
Well, I guess it's one of those things where, because that movie actually does have a lot of defenders. It doesn't seem like it. There's a lot of people complaining about it, but if you go on Twitter and type in hashtag Batman v Superman, most of the tweets I see are generally positive, saying don't let the critics fool you, it's a good movie. I think it's mainly if you're a fan of DC Comics, it's just all the stuff you've always kind of wanted to see in live action, or at least on the big screen, and you finally get to see it. So some of its flaws are like you can overlook, and it's one of those movies where like I said, I liked it. I didn't love it. I just liked it, and I think that regardless, I will see the next one, and I'm gonna just hope that I feel like Batman v Superman, they kind of, we're talking about this is gonna be like, this is our new Dark Knight Rises.
I know it will. We said in the last episode of the play, this will be the thing we'll be talking about for like the next 2 months.
I think it's one of those things where they'll like, it seemed like this movie, they were taking a step forward, but also taking a step back. Like whenever Superman was clashing into buildings, it's okay. There's nobody on this dock. The whole place is cleared. You kind of get like,
yeah.
But then you got Batman being like, I'm fucking angry and someone's gonna fucking die. So. And then I think that by the next one they might have it ironed out a little more. I think that I think is probably going to happen though. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like overly apologetic for the movie. I bet once the director's cut comes out, some of these things that seem like gaping plot holes will hopefully like hold the whole thing together. Not even think it's so much plot holes. I guess more just logic gaps rather than plot holes. Because apparently I was rethinking about the movie again today. I'm like, wait a minute, Lex Luthor knew he was Batman the whole time. He knew he was Superman the whole time. And I'm sure that there's probably, in the director's cut, there's maybe something that's showing that. Or I haven't seen it, but there's Steppenwolf, one of the New Gods. Not the band, but the New God. Like, they make a cameo. Like, one of the New Gods characters is like in a hologram or something in like in in the Zod ship. So
Huh, that's cool. But to me, it's like one of those ones. I like Batman versus Superman. I think it's one of those ones. If this movie came out in 2005, I think everybody would think it's like the best movie ever. You know what I mean? Like, or not that, but like people would be like, "Oh fuck!" But I think we've gotten to this point where it's like, just even the average Joe, not even the comic book fan, but the average Joe has seen probably 30 plus superhero movies in their entire life. So I think the bar has kind of been raised and set, raised and set, raised and set multiple times. That I think this one, like, it's almost like it just should be a little bit better than it is. I mean, I'll say this: like, if you compare this one, like, to the first Avengers, I almost say it's about on par. Not to the second Avengers, because the second Avengers I think is really good, but I think about on par because the first Avengers, like, that's one of those movies where like I enjoy it, I like it. I don't think it's a perfect movie. I still think it's probably about a 3 out of 4, almost like the same way I'd say Batman vs Superman, except for I like that one a little bit more than that. Like, so if I'm comparing it there, now I know there's like a 5-year gap in between or so, and maybe even longer than that. Jesus Christ. But, and it's that sort of thing that's like, well, they should have taken all the knowledge they've gotten from looking at all the other previous superhero movies, whether they're Marvel, DC, and indie comics and stuff, and kind of built up off of it, which really I feel like they should just hire the goddamn guys that are at Warner Brothers Animation because they got their fucking shit together. Like, if you want the perfect Batman Superman movie, you get those guys. But for some reason, we still have this racism towards like other meat or departments. Like, whoa, that's animation. That's that's like that. It's close to like backdoor porn and like hostile stuff.
they don't want the writers on there, the actual writers of the comic on there sometimes. So I just imagine like maybe Jeff Johns and like Scott Snyder trying to slowly sneak in there. Then all of a sudden like some like the fucking the Animaniacs, the Warner Brothers or whatever, and the Warner sister come out like back with like a chair, shoo them back into the room.
Well, here's a perfect example. This will tie into later into our episode, but you get Scott Snyder to write the next one. I mean, once again, I'm not being like the guy who's saying, like, get Zack Snyder out there. Let Zack Snyder do his thing. But once he's done, you hire Zack Snyder to write it, and you get Greg Capullo to direct it.
You mean Scott Snyder to write it? Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Scott Snyder, not Zack Snyder. I know that sounds similar. It's almost, they almost feel like they could be brothers. But that would, because, to me, that's what I look at. You got the writer, who's the writer, but then you get, like, the guy who's drawing it, he's technically the director when you break it down.
Unless you're Alan Moore.
In this day and age, like, unless you're just the dictator. But, really this day and age of a big movie like that, you could get somebody like Greg Capullo and say, like, hey, he's never really directed a feature film, but he's going to know what he's doing already. I'm saying this about him. And he's like, whoa, don't throw me up there. No, I mean, like, literally get those guys and have them just fucking do it. I know that's like going totally, like, nobody wants to spend $250 million on a couple of guys that draw funny books, but still, like, where do you think those funny books came from?
I think eventually what's going to possibly happen is right now every superhero movie is getting bigger and bigger. For instance, Batman versus Superman. It's just like, what's the Man of Steel sequel? Oh, we brought Batman and Wonder Woman into this, and they fight Doomsday at the end, where
and Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman.
Yeah, for split seconds.
And some parademons.
Yeah. And then you get to like,
and
then the next Marvel movie, it's called Captain America, but yet we got Spider-Man, you got Iron Man, you got like half the cast, or actually over half the cast of the whole entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think eventually we're going to reach this point where comic book movies become so big that they're going to go back to like, you know what? Let's just do a very simple one. Let's just do one.
Let's do a one-on-one movie.
Let's do a movie where it's just like, Batman, Robin, and Alfred going against like Two-Face, and maybe he has Deadshot as a right hand. I can see him doing something like that eventually, like getting tired, like kind of like how Wolverine. Some people complain Wolverine was too small. It's like, that was kind of cool that like how all these movies are getting bigger, and how that one just stopped and just said, let's make it kind of like a 70s action movie where it's just this guy, for whatever reason, it just reminded me of a Charles Bronson movie just set in Japan starring Wolverine. I don't know why, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, no. I think that's the way to go. Not, sadly enough, like I kind of like hate to admit this, but I kind of have this feeling that I just know Captain America 3 is going to be the better one to Batman versus Superman.
Oh, probably will be.
As a DC fan, like you never want to admit that the Marvel ones, because personally, I've always felt that the DC movies have always been better than the Marvel ones, even though everybody else seems to think the Marvel ones are so much better. Like I enjoy the Marvel movies. There's a couple of them I think that are like the golden ones. I think like Captain America 2, and I think Avengers 2. And Guardians of the Galaxy. I look at those three as like, those are the pinnacle ones that they've released And the other ones, they're all pretty much good, but that they don't have that same grasp on me as, like, say, a Man of Steel or a Dark Knight or a Watchmen or something like that. But the Batman vs Superman, I really enjoy it, but I feel there's just that one element kind of missing in there. Just something from there. It's a good movie. That's the thing. It's good. It's fun. It's but there is just something that there's not that same experience that you almost got from, like, watching The Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight's actually a much simpler movie when you really think about it.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. To me, a lot of people said that, like, Man of Steel seemed way too dark for being Superman. And to me, I'll be honest, maybe I'm just a horrible, bitter person, but Man of Steel didn't seem that dark to me. It just seemed kind of like...
I don't think it does either.
I think the... Go say what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Well, it's like, to me, it just felt like, okay, maybe it... I mean, because it's in the Dark Knight tone, so, I mean, like, it's going to be a little bit more like that. But that's technically the reason why I actually like the DC stuff a little bit more, is because it's taken a little bit more serious, where the Marvel things are mostly always kind of campy. And that's fine, because I like Batman and Robin, I like Batman Forever, and those ones are really campy, and Marvel's about, like, in between. It's like, okay, we're not as campy as those ones, but we're not, we're still going to have a bunch of laughs in there, and these characters are having a good time. It's not nearly as serious. It's not like Daredevil serious, or something like that.
Well, I think the whole thing with Man of Steel, where it was kind of like, it was taking itself a little bit more seriously, but to me, it had just the view and the look of it. It just seemed more of like he wasn't, like, down or moody. He just seemed more of kind of lost, trying to find himself. And I think
I'm just trying to find myself.
Like Eddie Vedder style, like, grunge rock, Chris Cornell, like Superman, which I'm all fine with. I mean, it's different. I mean, it was trying something different. A lot of people didn't like that different approach. I like that different approach. And plus, on top of that, I kind of liked that. To me, because people said, oh, he's always in these snowy places, it's always raining, it seems so dour. It didn't seem that. It just seemed more kind of like the first half, or not even first half, maybe like the first, like, quarter of the movie seemed kind of like a little bit like Americana road trip, him just trying to, like, go different parts around America. And I think
I like that a lot, because it reminded me kind of like Into the Wild, which is one of my favorite movies and books.
That's what it reminded me more of.
So it's like you literally have Into the Wild Superman edition.
Yeah, it reminded me of Into the Wild. Kind of reminded me a little bit of, like, just the cinematography and some of the flashbacks to his parents and childhood. It kind of reminded me of, like, the Book of Life, minus the ridiculous 25-minute, like, beach scene with that same piano song playing. But beyond that, though, because that movie did...
Isn't the Book of Life, isn't that the Mexican
Not the Book
movie?
of Life, Tree of Life.
Oh, Tree of Life, yeah. Book of Life's actually a pretty good movie.
I'll have to check that out. That's like the Day of the Dead one.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I bought it at one point. It was just like, you know what, this looks interesting. I saw it on Amazon for a good price, so I just bought it, and it was a fun movie. And I just feel like it was one of those movies that kind of came and went, and that was it.
I know it's
mostly,
if
like,
it's not Pixar, then that usually happens.
Yeah,
we'll have to give that one a shot at some point. But yeah, no, but it just kind of reminded me, like, the imagery and all that really reminded me of kind of like Tree of Life. So, and I didn't really find it to be that dark. I just thought more was at stake. Where I thought, even though the next one should be darker because it's Batman versus Superman, it should be darker. Superman should have lightened up a little bit by that point. And I think they should have showed him actually saving more people rather than just kind of rather than just being kind of like, oh, fuck, I happen to be here when the building blows up. Whatever, I'm out. I think there's more they could have done regarding that. And having Superman of all people, say the line, "No one stays good forever," and leaves. Like, oh, come on, dude. You're the Boy Scout. They always called you the Boy Scout. Why are you,
Yeah, and to me, he's still the Boy Scout in Man of Steel. It's not like that element's still all there.
I found that in Man of Steel, too, yeah.
I could see... To me, like, I actually really... Like, the best parts of Superman stories a lot of times is actually when there's nothing super going on. I think that's what almost, like, sells me even more is when it's just like those ones where it's just like him and Lois Lane, and they're just like almost like just enjoying life, or him on adventure. And that's why I think I actually like Superman out there grunge rocking it around. Like, if there was a whole 2-hour long movie of Superman like on a life quest, and it was a real, like, character building positive movie, and there really, other than a couple scenes like maybe smashing the truck and stuff like that, it wasn't really too much about the superpowers. It was more about the man. That would be cool to me. Like, because I always thought, like, I always made that joke. I'm like, if I ever wrote a Superman comic, I'd write one where, like, there's no fucking action or fighting in it whatsoever.
Well, I remember at one point, there's, like, before Man of Steel even came out, there's some, like, one of those producers, I don't remember which one it was, but one of those producers who you could tell never read a comic, but has some grandiose idea of what the next movie could be, even though you could tell he's never read a fucking comic, and he was saying, I'm thinking about making like, and it may have been like John Peters, it may have been him, but I think it was somebody else. He says, for the next Superman like story, I imagine it being more of a trilogy. Just make this big grand Superman trilogy where rather than like staying on Earth and doing all this stuff, he more travels the galaxy and sees all these things we haven't seen, or at least not very many things we've seen in the DC comics. And when he comes back, it's like it's his Michael Callione story. So it's like, so he has his brother in the end of the second movie, he has his brother shot in the back of the head when they're out fishing, or what, So like
he's got fucking Bizarro out there on a boat.
Yeah. He's like, he like grabs Bizarro by the face, like, I know it was you, Bizarro, you broke my heart, and kisses him on the head and pushes him away. they're like when like fucking Jor-El is dying, they're clearly not staying true to the source material. Jor-El's dying on Bizarro comes around, like, I'm sorry, he hugs him, then he looks over at Supergirl, just gives her a nod, They're out fishing. That's where like she stands up, like laser beams him in the back of the head, and just cut to Superman, arms behind his back, staring out the window.
That part where he like slams the door and it's just the most angry look. I love that scene.
Like a little Lois, like, no, he doesn't even slam the door. When it's just like, you gotta, I don't remember the wife's name, but like, you gotta get out of here, But he helps him. They walk right in, and then he just walks up to her, slowly closes the door, and right. Then I don't want to say here you hear her like brutally scream and cry like, no, Michael, no, as he closes that. I always just wanted to take that, like, do like. Take some of that footage of like the Calliones and kind of give like a Seinfeld boom boom boom,
like laugh track.
And then and yeah, when he slowly closes the door, you hear the audience kind of starting to kind of chuckle, and then when he fully closes it, I don't know, I got a fucked up sense of humor that way.
Oh, that'd be pretty darn funny. But well, like that idea of a Superman story where he's just traveling space would be kind of cool, because that's more like a Green Lantern story. Like that's one of the best parts about like the animated Green Lantern
cool,
show.
But he said he's like he said like, well, he's not going to become Superman until the very end of the trilogy. It's like, fuck that.
No, that's dumb. Like in a movie, it's like, okay, like even though I'm talking about making a Superman one where there's no action in it, that's fine for a comic. When it comes down to a movie, though, you got to have action. Like that's. That's sort of like the thing. Is like if movies came out, like if there was a Superman movie every single month, then you could do a Superman movie about him doing nothing. But when there's only a Superman movie coming out like every 3 to 4 years, no, you got to have fucking action in it.
I guess
But I still think is like in the Green Lantern animated series, like it's just Green Lantern, Kilowog, one of the Red Lantern guys, can't remember his name, and like their robot companion, and they're fucking just out like cruising space, like almost like they're on a beat, just like they got this spaceship and they're just driving around. In each place they go is a new adventure and so on. And it's fucking such a good show. And it's one of those ones where it's just like any other Green Lantern thing. Green Lantern always just gets kind of shoved to the side. Just like somebody kind of comes in the way. It's like, out of the way, you, Batman and Superman are stepping through.
Did I ever tell you, I feel a little bad about this. I'm not sure I did. Did I ever tell you for about maybe a year or 2 year period, I kind of actually literally ruined, we actually both did to a certain extent. I ruined Batman for my youngest nephew.
What'd you show him?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I first show him, it was right when we first started animating. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, folks, we've mentioned it several times, but if this is the first time, Spencer and I do this cartoon called Drunk Batman that's been kind of on hiatus lately. But the first 3 we
people keep wanting it. I keep getting things that people want, and I feel bad when it's like, oh, well, we're gonna give you more British Rabbit stuff because. That's what you want, right?
So we own that, We'll try to like get number 10 out there soon, but
because we really leave it hanging. Fucking Batman's going off the fucking fight crime, and the entire Justice League has been sucked away, and the only 2 people left is Batman and Jason Todd and Black Canary, I guess, too. And it's really left off at like such like it's totally like a fucking like 70s movie where like they just cut like right at the very last final battle where everything should be resolved in probably 10 minutes, but instead they just end it.
We're like Darkseid's coming to Earth. Yep, that's the end of the series. No, we'll get there though. We'll get there. Anyway, the first 3 we did were like tests. It was like the first time we had this animation, the first time we had the animation program, so we were just testing it out. So it looks really raw and really crude. The first one we did, it was just the simplest thing ever. It was just like Batman gets a smartphone. It was just like this 30-second short about Batman getting a smartphone.
It's a minute because we're not good at those shorts.
Yeah, it's like a minute. And he just like, he sees the smartphone. He's scared of it. He doesn't know how to react. To my nephew, I showed it. He's like probably 4 at the time, maybe. And, so he could barely form a full sentence, but he's watching, like, ah, he's scared of it, ha 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 ha, laughing, because Batman's scared of the phone and, like, punches it, he's laughing. Yeah, yeah, and then later I show my brother because those ones came out pretty close to each other. Then I show my brother like the second one, which Batman beats the ever living shit out of Robin, and like violently, and
because Robin messed with his Kevin Bacon collection on.
It wasn't even like Robin's fault. He just happened to be the bearer of bad news. Like, oh yeah, there's an earthquake, and your copy of Footloose got like fell off its shelf. Like, what'd you say? And he blames it on Robin because he needs something to punch. So, my brother says like, I'm like, I don't know if we should show him this one because this one actually has language in it. He says, oh, we'll just put it on mute. So we show him this thing, and Batman's he's laughing.
That's
he recognizes the animation. Then he sees this footage just like Batman beating the fuck out of Robin, and then he just is like
silent too.
And then he just looks at me. I'm not lying when I say this. He looks at me. He's like, he's evil. Turns to me, evil. Looks at me like screaming evil, pointing at Batman. So for like about a 2-year period, here's another thing. Like, at the time, I told you this before, but I didn't get it.
No, I never got this one. This is great.
At the time, it was actually, I think 2 years previously, for my birthday, you actually got me a Batman cutout from Dark Knight. And
oh yeah, that was sweet.
That was in my room, and for a while, like when I lived in my folks' house, he'd always want to go to my room, and just because that's where all the video games were and whatnot. He for a while didn't want to go in there because there is this Batman cutout. My mom's like, yeah, he's scared to go in your room because of the Batman cutout. Like, really? Yeah, he said he had a dream that Batman beat him up. So for about a year period, we kind of ruined like what my nephew thought of when he thought of Batman. He's like, okay, he dresses in black, he has the Batmobile, and he beats Robin.
Looks like Satan.
Yeah.
Well, that also goes to show that sometimes without sound, you get a completely. I mean, like, it still probably is like somewhat traumatic with the sound, but I think without the sound, it just seems even worse.
So yeah, so he likes it now because now he wants to go see the new Lego Batman movie, which looks pretty funny.
I think just because he's like Superman will stop the evil man. He's like, I've been waiting for this day for 5 years. He wouldn't go see Dark Knight. Wouldn't see Dark Knight Rises. Wouldn't see anything else.
Because before that, he really liked Batman, but he was scared of Batman for a little while because of our cartoon. So I guess that's something that should be a little bit more.
That's kind of good, though. I'm glad to see that we can create like.
I'm glad I traumatized your nephew for about a year. He's over it now. So. That was like it was character building. I'll just say that.
That was the point when like I worked at lifeguarding. I remember one of the other like girls that worked there with me. She came. She's like, Spencer, would you stop showing the kids your fucking Batman video because all they're doing is walking around, saying quotes from it and cursing. I'm like, I didn't tell them anything about it. They just found it out on their own, and it just spread like wildfire among like 9-year-olds.
It was kind of like how your parents wouldn't let you watch Ren and Stimpy. It was like, I don't want you kids watching that drunk Batman show.
No, that's pretty much what it was. It was like the drunk Batman was like this one. It was like I was like, wow, we're really popular among 9-year-olds.
What line are you saying?
Well, they love like the
God damn it, Robin's probably the easy one.
No, the easy ones, but they always love the one like, be like, but clowns kick ass. What about the Joker? Fuck the Joker, but other clowns are badass. So it wasn't really helpful. There's not really because that was at the time where I think we were only on like as the series one. We were only on episode maybe 2 or 3, and we were like they had their the shorts before that and so on. I remember too because at that point when I was like they'd be like. They're kids, so they don't know. They're like, yo, when are you coming off a new fucking like show? And you're like, it takes time to animate. We're doing podcasts in between. Who the fuck wants to listen to a podcast? People, not like 9-year-olds.
The most aggressive, like 9-year-old, like possible. I imagine this kid wearing kind of like a basketball jersey, two sizes too big for him, sideways, flat bill cap, kind of pudgy.
Yeah, well, there's a fat one that was kind of like the Eric Cartman of the group, and then there's like, you know, it was really like the South Park kids almost when you break it down. All nice guys. I still see them to this day. One of the kids he now works at Pizza Factory. He delivered my pizza last time I was there.
Oh.
Good kid.
Good to know he's doing good in life.
Well, he's only like 15 now. It's weird though, because still, it's like you like think of these like 9-year-olds now. It's like, oh, they're all fucking grown up.
Oh, well, he can drive pretty soon.
He's working a job. He's making an income now.
Should be.
Fuck.
It kind of tripped me out.
Weird.
My oldest nephew, I remember when he was like just 5 or 6. Now he's a fucking freshman in high school.
Now he's on his motorcycle with fucking like his Leatherman.
Yeah, just about. He's almost there. Last time I saw him, he had like
fucking throwing our Batman comics up on the roof.
Go get it, fucking nerds. Now it's one of those things. Before I could tell him like, no, you can't play my video games. No, you can't do that. He's fucking taller than me now. I can't stop him. If I gotta be careful.
He beat me up last time.
I can't look him in the eye now. He beats me if I do that. He's taller than me.
If I don't go out and buy him and his buddies Keystone Lights for their weekend party, he beats the shit out of me and pees on my Batman comics.
Oh man, it's middle school all over again. Oh fuck.
The worst part is though, it's like I'm twice as old as these guys. But coming up to, I guess, our main topic, which this is always another important thing. It happens twice a year. We get these fabulous hardcover Batman books, which there's a lot of stories I buy now, like in single issues and so on like this, but I like to wait for Batman. Batman's so special, I want to get it when it comes out in graphic novel form so I can read about 6 issues all at once, get that real good experience. Because this thing, it outweighs anything else. Whatever else I have to read, do anything. When a Batman comic like this comes in, especially from Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, I stop everything. It goes right to Batman. It's like one of the most important parts of my year. Like, this to me is a holiday. In fact, you could erase Christmas, Easter, New Year's, all that stuff. I'll take a Batman day twice a year. I'll be fine with that.
No, same thing here. This is probably whenever, because I don't know, I get more excited for like these books than I do like whatever big movie coming out.
I agree too. It's like these, like the 2 things I get probably the most excited for is one of these guys' books and the new DCU movies. Those are like the 2 best things to me. And I think that's another thing where I hate to keep coming back to Batman v Superman. But I think it's just after those DCU movies and stuff, it's like that set the bar so freaking high that, Batman vs. Superman's a great movie, but, not Dark Knight Returns, the animated version, just saying.
Or the Batman vs. Robin, not that either.
Yeah. And I think it's nice about the Batman, Dark Knight Returns, you can be like, well, yeah, I read the comic, but it's like, the one thing I like about that movie is in that one, because Frank Miller always kind of is sort of like somewhat anti-Superman. In the movie, though, they've justified a lot more that Superman's kind of like evened out. Mm-hmm. And I like that a lot more. Just being a Superman fan, sometimes Superman used to always get like, it almost feels like Green Lantern's the one taking the fucking blunt now, but it used to be Superman was always the one being put down. And nowadays I notice there's a little bit more people standing up for Superman, sort of.
Yeah.
Not after this movie, but all that like trying to bring Superman back up kind of went back down again, and now there's just a few of us standing there going, hey, well, still like Superman, but okay, back to Batman though and his fucking book. If fucking Batman weighs out, and we're not even really talking about Batman. This is just kind of a cool concept for the fact that, many people have taken up the Cowl.
Bad Jim.
We had Azrael take it first. We had Dick Grayson finally get it later on, but here's somebody who almost seems like even Alfred and Superman have taken it on for stand-ins and stuff, but still, it's been there. But to see this is a person who seems like almost should have got it, I would even say before even Dick Grayson, and Azrael was just more like a ballsy one. That to me just fine, like it was 90s ballsiness, like we're going to put this new character in there just to piss fucking people off. Because you just know in like fucking, whenever that was, 93 or whatever, that just had to make everybody go, are you fucking kidding me? It's not Dick Grayson. Who the fuck chose Azrael? I mean, like, he's a cool character and all, but Azrael?
I mean, I think it was one of those things we just got to be trying to be, I think they were just trying to be ballsy. And I think at the time, I think now they know better not to piss off the fans, because now you got people like, well, people don't read comics as much as they used to. They may love the cartoons and they may love the movies, but they don't read the comics as much. So I think before then, it's like, where else are you going to get this shit? So I think they would try something a little ballsy and actually intentionally piss people off. Where now, I think they're trying something ballsy, but they're not doing it with the sole intention to make someone angry. I think they're trying to do it with, because like you said, like this now it's Bat Jim Gordon's the new Batman at the moment.
And it's like, to me, it's like, that's like the most perfect choice to like take over. I mean, after Dick Grayson, I think Dick Grayson's really the technical like best one, but he's already been Batman. So who's your next choice? Jim Gordon. I mean, like, come on. And plus, it's kind of like, well, it's more like the government. I think it's that company called Powers or whatever has taken over. They're like, hey, Batman's gone. They think he's dead. So like, we got to like that was a positive image for the city. But what if we just kind of policeify him and have Jim Gordon, who's our main man, take over the role of Batman, who knew Batman the best out of anybody else out there. It all like so logical in the whole thing.
I feel dumb asking this. There is that one. I mean, he's appeared in several things. He's an evil CEO. He was in like Arrow for an episode. I think he was maybe in Flash. I don't know if he was in Arrow. He may have been in Flash. Actually, I'm pretty sure he was in Flash. He was in Arkham Knight, and he was also in Beware the Batman. He was like basically the father-in-law to Metamorpho.
Oh yeah.
Is that the same company? Because I always forget that dude's name. But is that the same? Was that Powers? Like
that might be. I think you might be right. I'm not going to go 100% on there.
Because he had like, I'm not sure if it was Powers. There's Maxwell Lord. That's another one of the evil billionaires of like the DC universe. But then there's, I don't remember that guy's name, but I was wondering if that clearly wasn't him, but I was wondering if it was his company that was doing that.
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it. But what I like about this book, since once again, I've been waiting for this one, and there's other series that I keep up on, like, I get Grayson every month, because I'm waiting for Nightwing to come back, but, till then, I got to settle for Grayson. And then been getting Batgirl and stuff like that. And the interesting thing is, by reading those other comics, is since I was waiting for this one to come out, like, I saw all these other moments that were happening in the DC universe, but I was getting it almost from, like, the other character's perspective, but it made it kind of nice, because when Barbara Gordon sees her dad come to visit her in Burnside, and he's got the mohawk, and he shaved up his mustache, you're like, the fuck? And that's the same reaction she has, like, Dad, what are you doing? And you're like, Jim, where to go? And then he's like, yo, I'm Batman, pretty cool, huh?
I bet the next volume they're gonna have a big emotional thing of where because I know they had an issue where it's like you got to track down and find the other like Bat members of the Bat family because we're doing this by our means. And we don't need them getting in the way. And I bet there's gonna be a big emotional thing about. I mean, if they didn't already reveal it, I can see them possibly revealing.
They did it in Batgirl, like where Jim Gordon comes, he's like, you got to stop this vigilante-ness. Which I kind of went like, are we still at that point where Jim Gordon doesn't know that she's Batgirl? Because sometimes there's that one. It's like I get that kind of like in the beginning, but I feel at some point she should just let him know. I think it's just I'd rather just have people know. It's one of those ones. Sometimes it's when you even watch like Arrow and Flash, you just go like, would you people stop lying and holding secrets? God damn it, just express it all. Just don't hold it back. It's like that always gets kind of annoying after a while, I think.
Well, especially
I know that's like
especially if it's a show where it's like every week it's just kind of like, well, I can't tell Lana that I really have all these powers because that'll just put her in danger. Motherfucker, she's getting attacked by like some asshole moody teen that got like kryptonite powers that week, every fucking day of the week, dude. Happens every fucking week, Just fucking tell her. It's not going to change nothing.
Well, it's like I always consider that's kind of like soap opera writing, and that's like it's really like the one. Even though I really like Arrow and I enjoy Flash, but I really don't like the soap. The soap opera stuff's always the part where I go, you could. It's not in it a whole lot, but there's always about like at least maybe 5 to 10 minutes in every single episode of kind of soap opera-ness. Like, you lied to me, blah! And even like the guys are bad at it too. They're like, I fucking hate you. You're not my friend anymore. It's like, me, go sit in the corner, me. And it's just like, God fucking Diggle, don't be a bitch because I love you so much. Like, man up and just accept the fact that, yeah, maybe Green Arrow might have almost killed your family, accidentally put him in danger, but it was for the best.
Is Diggle, did he turn out to be, because I still got to watch Arrow, but I know that character. Did he become any known or anybody?
No, not yet. I think what he should be is fucking white. He should be Jon Stewart. Like, his last name is already, or his first name's John. You could just do the weird thing where it's like, oh, well, I go by Diggle, which is my middle name, but my real last name is Stewart, or vice versa. My middle name is Stewart, and like you could kind of switch it around that way, and he should just get the ring. Like, well, that would be the perfect way to do it. And wouldn't be that far off from John Stewart's story, anyways, because in back in the day, it's more like he was kind of like an investigator. That's not that far off from what Diggle is, and just by being a good man, he gets the ring.
They could do something like that. I mean, I haven't really seen the show. They could always just change his name. Well, that's not my real name. My real name is the whole time. If they really ever need to do that, because they had something kind of like that for Smallville. They had they had Jimmy Olsen come in, and they just called him Jimmy the whole time. Then he eventually gets killed by Doomsday. And
then some terrorist guy comes up and shoots him in the head.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Well, at least he at least got. I'll say this: Smallville, not a perfect show. I think it's more.
So Jimmy Olsen got more screen time than Batman for Superman.
We got a fuck ton more screen time, but actually, not that much more screen time. Because actually, what ended up happening is, turns out that wasn't the Jimmy Olsen we know. Turns out James was this guy's middle name, and he was the older brother to the real Jimmy Olsen.
Huh? So they just throwing curveballs at you.
So his name was like Bartholomew James Olsen. Everyone just called him Jimmy. They say right after, like at the funeral. Like that was kind of clever.
Yeah,
and they give little Jimmy little Jim the camera.
Ah, there you go. So it's like, here, take your superpower.
Yeah, take this watch too.
You might need it just in case you get into any danger. Believe me.
Then
you wish you would have had it in Batman v Superman. It would have came in.
What if he's just what if Superman got there like, fuck, I was just about to give this to you. Looking at his fucking bullet-ridden corpse.
And it's all wrapped up and like almost like happy looking birthday like wrappers with a bow on it, saying like Super One's #1 pal. Smiling, a photo of them together, giving thumbs up, biggest smile ever you've seen on Henry Cavill.
It's like, oh, not a good time. Just pockets it. Oh, I can actually see it being one of those things like, Jimmy, take this.
He just crosses out Jimmy and just says, Jenny, I guess. Photoshopped a picture of her in there with next to him, like
head just
here.
on Jimmy's body.
This looks like this was meant for someone else. Well, it was. It really was. I didn't think I'd be giving it to you. There was a moment I thought I was, but then I realized that they fixed it, and then I realized that they erased it all at the same time. So, I guess you have to take the mantle. Here's a St. Patty's Day pin to put on you. At least people might know that you're close to being Irish now.
You have an Irish cousin or some shit, I don't know.
Yeah. Here, put this green vest on.
I like just the fact the guy has red hair that's like, oh, well, he must be just like a flag-waving Irishman just because he has red hair.
Well, I think he's supposed to be because he's from New York and all that stuff like that. Like,
oh, he is. I just don't think. I mean, I know he's Irish. I know he's Irish just by from ancestry and all that. But I don't think of him as like, hello there, I'm Jimmy Olsen. How are y'all doing today? No, I don't. That does not come to mind.
That's Jimmy Olsen's grandpa. Because it's just like one of those ones, like I always picture Batman being like Italian, probably, even though he's probably Jewish like Superman. But
I was gonna say real quick, just before we get into actual book we're supposed to be talking about right now.
Yeah, we got to the beginning like Jim Gordon is Batman, but let's talk about this other stuff that's like
the other Jim, the one that's fucking dead. No, I will say, what if he just got there? Like, I can see it being one of those things like he wanted to give him the watch, but he's like, here, Jimmy, here's a watch. He's like, the watch to call just me and me alone. Like, dude, I'm 30.
I got this one to call Batman.
I'm like, what if he's like, I'm 35 years old. Maybe if when I was a teenager, this would be cool, but I'm 35 years old. I'm CIA trained. Doesn't that seem a little insulting? Well, you never know when you need it, just like, oh, then he's like, fucking told you, asshole, when he gets there.
Fucking kicks it.
Yeah. That's for me. All right, but back to the book, though.
We already lost a relatable character in Batman v Superman.
Who knows? Maybe
who we're going to aspire to be now. That's the one thing you always go like, I can't be Batman, I can't be Superman, but damn it, I could be Jimmy Olsen.
Oh. Off him. I guess now it's Jenny.
Yeah, now we got to try to relate to Jenny, but I don't feel like I got anything in common with her. So it's one of those weird ones. Oh. And she's not even Jenny Olsen anymore. She's just plain Jenny.
How much would have been fucked up if they were like, well, that was the reason she was Jenny Olsen, and she was like engaged to him. There was a plot point they could have added.
They tried, then she's like, well, fuck this. I don't want to marry some dead guy now. She go like,
She's very, not even sad. And he's like, oh, I'm not very good.
Like, I'm fucking hateful. Like, what a fucking loser. Couldn't even, like, survive, like, a terrorist base.
We should probably the fucking book, though. Anyway.
But no, this book is just like every other Greg Capullo Scott Snyder book. They're just so magical. And this one being, like, because last time you told me, you're like, oh, well, it's kind of like one of those in-between books. And sometimes those are the ones, like, it's not like they're bad, but they're just a little bit stepped down, I think, because you just had such an amazing story arc right beforehand. So you're almost at the lull period. And this one, I guess you could say it's almost sort of a lull period, but it's so much fun by being kind of, like, very fresh. I mean, you got Jim Gordon, and he's in, like, a mini Gundam, like, Batman suit, fighting crime. And he's fighting off pretty much almost like these plant creatures that are sort of like a spin-off of Poison Ivy, I guess. Not really. I mean, they get their own thing, but what's it, Mr. Bloom or whatever he's called, or Dr. Bloom.
Yeah. Anytime they introduce a new villain, you got to give them credit, because people are always skeptical on new villains.
And that's fine. Like, these guys could create everything new. And this one works, though, because it's like almost like you got new Batman, might as well have some new villains. You know, it's supposed to be kind of like, you know, what was it, 2 months later after Batman died in Endgame? Or
yeah,
and die, but you know, but the world thinks he's dead.
Then there's also like there's like almost that triad group. Those what were they called? They had like horns. I forgot what they were called, but he fought those guys.
Well, weren't those guys?
They may have been working with Bloom.
Those.
I think they were working with Bloom.
Because I think everything was sort of tied to Bloom in this one.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie, I read the book once, like last week, so it's way more fresh in your mind. Probably.
Yeah, so it's not as
fresh.
Like I
got a week before.
And I even like this. There's a part 2 when like because they kind of do this thing where it's like, okay, here's Jim Gordon, he's in the suit already, doing everything like that, and then it'll kind of cut back to like how he's being like offered the job and everything like that, and they got Alfred's daughter's kind of like working undercover at this place, so she's kind of running it, the same thing, which I like how they just call her Penny 2. It always makes me laugh. Like, you're Penny 2. I can't get confused now between Penny 1 and Penny 2. And I even like, too, because it shows, like, they got this guy who almost looks like he should be Luke Fox, but he's not Luke Fox. And there's a part in there, it's a really neat scene where it kind of shows the different, like, styles he was choosing to make the armor. And I like, because it's, like, kind of from different decades of Batman. You got, like, a Dark Knight one at the top, and then you got sort of, like, your classic 70s Batman to the top right. And then they almost have like an old original style Batman one. And then they have the Batman, the crazy one with the red and purple and yellow suit.
Zathura or whatever.
Yeah, just Zathura, yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. But really, like, okay, the Jim Gordon scenes are great. And it's just, you know, him kind of like trying to, you know, he's trying to think of like, what does it mean to be Batman? He's like, and he's trying to almost emulate Batman for a while. Trying to go like, I got to get in. You know, I know this guy, but it's like, I can't figure it out. And at some point, I can't remember who tells him this. Maybe it's Penny
Bullock.
too.
It's Harvey Bullock, I think.
Oh, it's Bullock. He says, you just got to be your fucking self, Jim. Just do it. You know, you're a good man, God damn it.
I like that part.
And I'm a man who loves fucking donuts.
And smoking. I like that part where...
Well, you love smoking too, but now you're smoking the candy cigars.
You fucking queer.
Yeah. A real man quits smoking by sucking dick.
Yeah.
Harv, is that what you do? No. I'm not fucking gay.
Not saying there's a problem with them. There's not a problem. I'm not saying there's a problem with being one. I'm just saying I ain't one. So don't you fucking call me one, you motherfucker.
And whatever you do, don't follow me after the gym later on. You go to the gym? What, you don't think I go to the gym too, huh? I mean, it's a different kind of gym. You know, one that you wouldn't understand. One made for us, chubby fellas.
It's literally just 7 pages of this conversation.
And this is how Jim kind of learns that, like, you don't got to be Bruce Wayne. You got to just be Jim Gordon as Batman.
Well, basically, out of that, he says something like, he says, you can't be Batman. There's already too much to live up to. You're a cop, and that's where you see, like, because Jim's overseeing, like, some of the possible candidates, and then some guy walks out and says, hey, I'm just FaceTiming with my newborn son. And like, I'll be right over here, guys. And, you know, then he's just like, Batman don't...
What are you two guys doing? Are you guys up on the top of the building just fucking suck each other's dick? No. Why? You want to suck some dick?
Yeah. You want to get on this? You want to get on this?
Yeah, we will set the camera up, too. Your fucking 2-year-old kid can watch.
Yeah. Know how his old man pays the rent, you know? These guys...
You want to be Batman real bad, don't you?
The original draft. Greg Capullo's like, I am not drawing that. Zach's like, no, or Scott Snyder's like, no, man, I just really want to try something different, just really some.
Move a different Harvey. I mean, it's like he's still classic Harvey, where he's fat and kind of angry, but he's also very cock crazy too.
I'll say this. We'll get back to the main book in a second, but like whenever I listen to Scott Snyder in interviews, he sounds like, and I mean this in a good way because this is one of our directors, but he sounds and looks.
Scott Snyder's actually
Scott. Just give me a second. Scott Snyder seems kind of like a less coked out version of Quentin Tarantino.
That's kind of true. He does. They even kind of look kind of the similar.
Yeah,
too.
The way how he talks, the way he mentions it, the way his story goes, seems like Quentin Tarantino, if he just was done doing coke and all that, was just a little bit more calmer.
Just like one of my favorite ones is when we saw Man in the Iron Mask, and it's like I don't even know where you could see this video because it's not even on the DVD, I don't think. But I just love like right before the movie starts, there's like Tarantino's like editing on a computer, and he like turns around really quickly, like over his shoulder, like, "Oh fuck, I didn't see you come in!" like he just did a big line of coke. Well, glad you're here to see my boy Riz's new movie. But he just had that look like, "Oh fuck, there's people in here!" Like
we're doing that shit today. Fuck. But so basically, Jim takes the role. He says he doesn't want to do it at first, but everyone's but like the lady, I think her name's Kathy Powers. She's like, no. You were a Marine, I was a Marine. We understand each other. We get each other. I'm a CEO of a company. I didn't really like the way Batman did it, but I think Batman had the right idea, so we could just improve upon that and just give him a mech suit and all this badass support and be more militarized.
Yeah, and it's a cool, different change. And, it sounds like it's pretty much only going on for 2 books anyways, because I know Batman's coming back pretty soon, as well as they're going to be minusing out all sorts of other series and adding new, that thing where we're going to have to all get readjusted to our best friends again.
After we just got readjusted, after we finally got adjusted to the 52, they're doing another rebranding. Well, I don't think they're not, like, rebooting it, but they're rebranding it,
Well, it bums me out, too, because Batgirl's, like, already changing. Like, they're not going to have Babs Tarr fucking drawing it anymore after, like, the next 3 issues, and it's like...
I love her artwork.
I know. I mean, like, I'll just wherever she goes next. That's one of those artists where you'll buy a book just because she's in it. Like, sort of like a Jim Lee. It's like I don't give a fuck. It's like Jim Lee's name's on the cover. Sure, I'll take this.
Now it seems almost Jim.
Except for then you get those ones where it's like, oh, you only did the fucking covers, damn it.
Yeah, or like,
let me into this.
He did 1 or 2 issues. They'll do that a lot of times. They'll get like a big author or a big artist on like the first volume. And then when the second volume comes on, they moved on to a different author just because they're hooked to the story now,
It's equivalent of slapping Batman on the cover of somebody else's series.
Like Justice.
It's like that will get them to buy it.
Justice League.
Like Justice Dark.
League. Not Justice League Dark, but the other, the one with whatever Justice League has Booster Gold in it.
Oh, okay. Well, he's not in the
International Justice League.
Not in the Justice Society. International. That's right.
Fuck him.
But the other cool story that's kind of like the secondary story in here. And this is one of these ones, it kind of comes back around to like how I love a Superman story that has no action in it, is they got this great story of like, because Bruce Wayne comes back out, and they have this something like, what the fuck is it that goes into like, God, I forgot what it's called, but
Dionysium?
This fluid or whatever goes back, the Dino or whatever it is, which is like
Dionysium.
Yeah, Dionysium, not like the Dynaball, the steroids goes back into his brain and recreates it. But the Dionysium goes into him and like reconfigures his brain and grows him back in a sense. Like, I don't really know how, but just we don't question it. But in that process, though, he's sort of lost all his sort of knowledge of life. Like, almost like he's got amnesia, but it goes back even before his parents died or anything like that. But for some reason, he knows much of it. It's kind of a weird one. Like, okay, so you think he'd almost be like have the mind of like a 5-year-old? He'd be the literal man-child.
I think it's one of those things. I mean, I understand like the real science. He'd probably be like, just literally like in physical therapy and all that, and mental therapy.
Like, yeah, one day with Bruce Wayne. It's like all mutated.
It's like
oh god, you got somebody put him down in his misery.
Greg, you got 3 months to get him back to like regular Batman. So why don't we just skip that shit and get him to where he's up and talking again? Like, all right, that's probably what happened.
Where he's not like rolling around in a wheelchair spitting.
Batman, as you've never seen him before, just rolling on one wheel, going in a circle. The most socially sensitive.
Believe me, you'll really want to see Batman versus Superman after this. But what I really like though, it's like it's really actually a really beautiful story. It's like it just cuts to Bruce Wayne and he's working at like an orphanage, and it's just like almost like it looks kind of like a preschool or something inside there. And he's met this girl that he used to know way back in the day, which once again I'm confused because like how does he remember?
She was actually that's the girl that we saw in year one, not year one, a 0 year that he had a fling with. Remember he talked about.
Oh, that's totally right. I knew she. I was like, I know her. She's in something, but I could not think of what it was. Well, that makes total sense.
And like she actually, I think what happened, just to clarify, I think Alfred filled him in on everything, but he didn't fill him in on Batman. So he's relearning everything. He said,
oh yeah, that's the thing. Is, yeah, Alfred, because he got to a certain point where Bruce is like, whoa, Alfred, I don't want to hear anymore. He's like, but Bruce, I'm not done yet. Alfred, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna go out there and teach children the way God intended.
I'm gonna teach them how to make arts and crafts with their fingers and shit.
Yeah, so he's like fucking in their finger, but it's actually like beautiful. We're talking about like it's fucking retarded, but it's actually like you just see this. You see like Bruce Wayne. There's even a part 2 where like Clark shows up and he's like he's being all pushy for some maybe this is just the new Clark nowadays. He's like, yo, Alf, when are you gonna tell him he's Batman? Like literally, get him back in the fucking boots. Yeah, it's like, yo, Alf.
I'm 5 feet away from you,
Clark,
Mr. Kent.
Come in. You do not have to shout from the downstairs.
And he just says, "I'll be there," and it just flies up through like through the floor. Bro, what's up, Alf? You know?
And it's just this one where it's just like he's going around. He's just like, "Yo, you got to get him back in there." He's like, "He's Batman. He's the best there ever was." And he's just like, "No." He's like, "For once, we actually have Batman died, but we have Bruce Wayne back that we haven't had since before his parents were murdered. It's like here's this warm, caring like soul." And he's like, this is what I always wanted. So it's very touching moments.
Yeah, and he says, like, we're just going to leave him be, because if we put him in the bat suit now, even though he's fully healed and in proper shape for it, he's not going
to... He's going to get it and go... This goes full on retarded back into the bed. Just like, see, he hasn't been... The Dynesium doesn't cure all.
We should clarify in case people, I mean... as far into it, thank you. But if like beyond that though, we should clarify real quick though, like in the previous book, they said that like, cause it ends on the note, it was kind of like Scott Snyder's personal kind of like, this is where the story ends for me. In my mind, this is the end. Clearly DC's not going to let me end it, but to me, this is the actual end, but I want to keep writing Batman for a little while longer. So at the end of it, it kind of has this feeling like he died, and then apparently he was dead for like about 2 or 3 hours, but the Dionesium rebuilt him to basically just physically alive, not to like mentally completely, and that's where we jump 2-3 months later after Endgame.
Well, the nice thing about Endgame is you can read that book and go, and you could literally close it and go, that is a proper ending. And there's certain books out there where it's like, it's going to continue on, but like they almost just end so nicely. And it's kind of like, I mean, you could almost do the same thing with The Dark Knight Returns. You could close it and do that. Another good one that had like a fantastic, like you could call it the total Green Lantern ending was in, I think it was book 3 of the new 52 of Green Lantern. It was Jeff Johns' last one he did of Green Lantern. And it was just like, it built up to like this humongous battle, and like not like one of those, because sometimes every once in a while you get those books where it's just like, it's 12 issues of fist punching, fighting, swearing and smoking, and you're like, well, after a while, it gets kind of boring in a comic book, like where it's just like you just kind of go through it. Just
another
like,
spreadsheet,
kill the dogs punching somebody,
another splash page.
Yeah, after a while, you just. I mean, maybe it's like I think to an artist, you're like, this is the greatest thing ever. But like I think just to a reader and everything, it just gets kind of boring quickly. But in this other Green Lantern one, that's a different Green Lantern one I'm talking about. It's still Jeff Johns, but it was like the Sinestro Corps one. I still haven't even finished it. I was like halfway through. It's like, Jesus Christ, is this literally 400 and something pages of them like fighting? It's like, God damn. But in the third Green Lantern one, it built up, and then you had all the Green Lanterns, and they're in this humongous space battle, and they finally, kind of like it properly ends just to this point where it's like, hey, we all go back, and it shows each one of them almost kind of retire. Like, I don't even know if it's like 10 or 20 years later. You see what Hal Jordan's doing. You see what John Stewart's doing. You see what Guy Gardner's doing. It's like Guy Gardner's just like on the street like, I used to be a Green Lantern, but now... Even though I think it actually was something like that, because he was like in a bar or something like that, like saying like, I was a Green Lantern once. Even though I like Guy Gardner a lot.
And one day I got a bowl cut. They kicked me out. Like you weren't dishonorably discharged. No, I got a bowl cut. They said that was the end.
Yeah, the bowl cut was it. Apparently, the kids in the '90s thought it was the coolest thing ever, though. But yeah, that's what I don't like Guy Gardner when he has a bowl cut, but when he doesn't have that bowl cut, that's actually one of my favorite Green Lanterns, strangely enough. And it seems like a character that like you shouldn't like, but I don't know what it is. He's just charming.
My introduction to him was with him in the bowl cut in Death of Superman, so I'm always kind of like,
yeah, where all the kids are like, fucking Superman and a mullet, gay. But Guy Gardner with a bowl cut, that's a man. That's a guy you want to bum a cigarette off of.
Where's the soda, Mom? Mitchell, dear.
Well, going back to Batman.
Sorry, go ahead.
I say going back to Batman, though. I can't remember where the fuck we left off at. Oh, where Batman, he's just kind of being Bruce. And it's just him kind of working at the school, and he's having his interaction with people. And he's even, there's a point too, where like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly how all his trophies end up fucking like laying on the street, but they're all covered up. And he decides, he's like, I know these kind of scare the kids, but we should turn these into something magical. And he builds like this like little like, not theme park, but like a child's playground out of like all the stuff there with a scary looking Joker card hanging above them all, which I don't know if that's maybe the best thing to be having up there. But it's like all the things from his trophy room now have been turned into like this daycare like playground thing, so kids can go up there and pee down the slide and everything like that, out of the T-Rex's mouth.
I wonder how long for the giant penny just lands on a couple of kids, crushing them all.
Then Bruce gets sued.
I've had just the best intentions.
And then Clark's... then Bruce is just like, they're going to fucking blame it on me.
Actually, I remember how they got that. They got that out there because Joker knew that he was Bruce Wayne, and he was kind of, I think it was kind of a callback to '86 Batman. He had a big in Endgame. He had a big parade with all of Batman's trophies in it, all like painted like Joker colors.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense how it's all out there. But no, this book's really a great one. It's kind of like it kind of ends at a point where you're like you just kind of want more. You can't wait, which I guess technically you could go out and go, hey, I'll just like buy them individually, but no. I like the way. I'll wait till Volume 9 comes out because it just makes it so much more magical to read in graphic novel form.
Yeah, this one was really good. Like I have no real complaints about it because I thought it was a fantastic story. It's just clearly the first half, and it just leaves you kind of hanging. Which that doesn't make the story bad. It's just one of those things. I just got to wait a little bit more. Which I guess.
It was kind of like the prequel to Zero Year was like that too. And I think it was even called Zero Year, which kind of threw you off. Because it's like, oh, fuck, this Zero Year stuff looks so sweet. And then you realize it's like, oh, it's all the build up to it. And you're like, oh, that part where Batman's on the motorcycle and it's all like apocalyptic and stuff, that's only like a couple pages. But this one's different though. This one's like, it's all good. It doesn't really feel like it's like teasing you or anything like that. But it does at the very end. You're like, dude, I can't wait to read the second part of this.
Ironically, the only like runs that Snyder and Capullo seem to have that seem to be kind of one like solid story, like one solid graphic novel, is Joker stories. Like Death of the Family was one solid story, Endgame was one solid story. Court of Owls Volume 1 felt like it was a solid story, but then it just kind of it's
there's sort of like the part 2.
Yeah, well, it felt kind of like when Volume 1 ends, it doesn't feel like they're on their way to go fuck with Bruce. It feels like okay, he's got a new villain now, and we'll see more of him down the line. Then you grab the next volume, like, oh fuck, down the line is the next book, okay, and it's later that night, and so that's where it just sort of feels kind of like, okay. I mean, that's still a great book. It's still fantastic. I just thought it was one of those things like, oh wow, this is just the kind of the tail ending of it, where I think because the thing is, when you read them like 6 months apart, it really feel it. Where if you just sat there and read this big thick book like in one read, it would probably feel more of a solid concrete story.
Yeah, no. I mean, like it would be fun one of these days, just like once the Scott Snyder run and Greg Capullo's all done, it's just to sit down and read all of them back to back, in like a month or so, just boom, 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 and go through it because it is one of the most magical Batman runs. I will say it's getting close because like they start off like fucking strong with Court of Owls, and they just keep continuing delivering tons of great material. I mean,
and the weakest one, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if somebody told me that this was the best Batman run ever, I wouldn't even argue with them. You know what I mean? Because I'd be like, it's damn good.
Yeah, I like this more than this. Maybe a lot of people are like shut the fuck up, but I like this more than Grant Morrison's last Batman run, and that was really good. Like I'll say,
Yeah, it's like I love the Grant Morrison stuff, but yeah,
this right here, this I like how even like Capullo, even kind of like Capullo and Snyder, they kind of get in like they have a little bit of self-aware humor in there, like for fans, like debates among comic book fans. Like there's one issue in here where the very first page is a couple of kids debating over which Batman is cooler, the original Batman or the new Batman, and why. And then
they're doing action figures.
yeah, like they have like the new robot Batman. Like this one's cooler. Look, it could do this, it could do that. Well, other Batman didn't need that because other Batman is like they were reading off the form somewhere and just putting that into this kid's argument.
And then there's actually one other thing in here too. There's this little side story or whatever you want to kind of call, sort of prequel one in there. I think it takes place like right after Zero Year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, post 0 Year, and it's illustrated by Jock, who's a really good fucking artist, and he makes some really neat stuff. I want to say that he did the one that was the I want to say it's Gates of Gotham.
He did a book
the Black Mirror. Gates of Gotham's. You might be on that one too, though. But Black Mirror. Have you read that one yet?
I need to read Black Mirror.
It's so fucking good. It's the one where like one of the main stories in it is because it has Jim Gordon's son in there and how he's like the crazy serial killer and everything like that.
I know Jock did a book with Snyder called Severed. So yeah, I'm curious to check out that because I hear nothing but good things about that book. Of all the people that like Snyder frequently works with, I like him and Raphael Albuquerque. Raphael Albuquerque is like one of the main artists for like American Vampire. I'd like the two of them to do like a solid Batman book together, and not just like a little single issue like they have done in the past, like a full on Batman book.
Yeah. No, that'd be pretty sweet. And there's also the other guy I like too. I forget John's name. His name's like Francis Valencino or whatever. I'm totally like fucking. But that guy, like, it's like I know when I see his name, I know it, and I just buy shit that he's on, but I can't even fucking pronounce his name. And like he has great stuff too. He did a lot of the covers for the Zorro and Django comics and stuff too. And I almost want to say he either worked on Gates of Gotham or the Black Mirror, one or the other. Like I can't remember. They might. I think actually on the Black Mirror it went back and forth between Jock and then the other guy, and it was great. But no, this book, I mean, I know it's like we're kind of talking about this. Like to some people, if you're reading single issues as they come out, this feels like we bought a fucking season set of Arrow and now we're talking about it. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that some people either read things in single issue. Some people like us wait till graphic novels, and then other people might not even read stuff till way down the line and find it years later and be like, dude, this is fucking magical, I pick up all the time. I get like, 70s Batman comics, and you go, oh, this is such a great story. Like, why did I know about this before? Or even like old Marvel ones and stuff like that. And you find little hidden gems here and there.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. I'm kind of curious to see where this gets resolved. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When Endgame came out, I got like Comixology now. I know how the thing works. Because at first I was kind of confused of how I get the thing working and how I buy the comics and all that. But I read the first 2 issues. Like, oh my god, this is too. I could wait for the graphic novel, but fuck, I'm just gonna buy them all right now. I did that and rebought the graphic novel. Then I bought the first issue of this. And I liked it so much, like, all right, I'm just going to wait for the graphic novel for this to come out because I want to know what happens. I just don't want to be kind of like waiting, read 10 pages, read 15 pages, oh, done,
Well, it does make it much better when you can sit down, because that's the only downfall I will say to like sort of reading stuff like, reading an issue every single month. It's like you almost kind of forget what the hell happened in it beforehand. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll let them build up a bit. Like I'll get like 4 issues in a row and then I'll read them and then I'll wait again, reading in some other series. But no, this one's great. If you want, check it out. Hell, I'll post it right there on our little like Amazon link on the description thing. So if you want to help the podcast out a bit and get a really good fucking Batman book, well, you're at it. There we go. It's a good way to like help support the stuff here. And then, well, we'll see what happens because everything's gonna fucking change on us in like 2 months with like DC. Yeah. So I know that a lot of the series are ending or like they're changing. Like the Batgirl one's going like she's going on a trip to Asia, so it's changing there. Still sounds kind of interesting, but it's going to be different. I know that like things like Batman and Robin Eternal are going to be ending, which thank Christ actually, because I've learned that no, a comic book should never come out every single week. That is like so overwhelming.
Too hard to keep. Like, is it good or is it just like
the stories are really good, but I'm like it's just like I go to the store, it's like more, and I got this stack of like I'm like 14 issues behind. Just this big fat stack, which is like the equivalent of like 3 graphic novels. So it's like it's good, but I just think there's a reason why. Like maybe twice a month wouldn't be too bad. But every week is just like, it's a lot.
Then they got one called like All Star. I mean, I know that before this was kind of a controversial book with Frank Miller and Jim Lee, but they got one called All Star Batman. I'm not sure if All Star Batman and Robin, but All Star Batman with Greg Capullo and Snyder still on it. So I don't know what that is. But the promotional art was just kind of like silhouettes of different villains.
Huh, that's interesting. Well, I know that some of the ones kind of like, because like Scott Snyder's name's on the Batman or Batman Eternal, and I think it might almost be on the Batman and Robin Eternal. But it's more like he's just kind of there just to throw out ideas. I don't think it's not like he's really the main person on the. I think they just almost use his name to sort of sell it, and he's kind of there going like, "Hey, here's an idea," but it's not like he's writing it or anything like that.
I think he's one of the few writers that didn't piss a bunch of people off during the whole reboot and all that.
Well, yeah, it's because like in a sense, like the Batman one's like the most like. That one and the Green Lantern one, because the Green Lantern one you can't complain at all because literally nothing changes in that. It is literally like, here's Hal Jordan, same guy since 1965 or whatever. Nothing's changed. Still confused when black people try to tell him things. It's not that he's racist; he's just old timey and kind of a dumbass white man.
It's the way Dennis O'Neil wrote him. You can't help it.
Well, it's always got like traveling heroes because always like all these always kind of like, yo, I'm urban, I'm hip, I know what's going on in the world. I'm not like a fucking idiot like Hal. I mean, he's my best friend here, but come on, let's say this. Like Hal, you know space, but you don't know Earth. You don't know the urban.
The urban, like a blonde-haired white guy who used to be a billionaire.
Yeah, I mean, like I practically relate.
He just sees like some like random black dude. Sup, homie? He just puts his fist out. It's just like, who the fuck are you?
Weren't you a billionaire at one point in time?
Well, I'm like you now, man. I'm all, I'm chill. I'm hip.
Poor.
I'm with the DL, DL hang with the GL. What's it there? He's like,
I ate a can of Chef Boyardee last night. I'm like, I'm just like you.
And Hal's like, all right, this is getting awkward.
Hal's like, oh, I don't know, man.
I'm just going back to space now. I'll see you. Yeah.
But coming up on next episode, what we're going to do, and it's coming up pretty darn soon, but we're going to do, since Daredevil Season 2 came out, I know that was about 3 weeks ago by now, but since everybody's kind of still catching up on that, we thought we'd go back in time to the original Daredevil movie, but not just the theatrical version, the magical director's cut with an extra like half an hour thrown into it.
Rated R.
And this is one of these movies, yeah, and rated R, that, whenever I talk to people about this whole movie, like almost nobody seems to have seen the director's cut one. Everybody knows a Daredevil. Nobody seems to know of the director's cut version. And whether or not you like the theatrical one, because I actually like the theatrical one. When I saw it in theaters, I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. This feels like the superhero movie made for me. And it's like, but then you see this director's cut one, and it just like, it fills in all these voids. It puts an entire new, like, kind of scenes in there, and it's awesome. There's probably, there's still, like, interesting, like, I don't think call them flaws. They actually make kind of fun. We'll just talk about when we talk about there, but
the next retrospect.
But yeah, our next retrospect, which is our next podcast, which will come up pretty darn soon. There's Daredevil Director's Cut. I'll try to throw that in there if I don't forget in the podcast little bomb part. So if you don't have that movie, you can help support the podcast and grab that movie off of Amazon, and then you can either watch it beforehand or after, whatever you feel like doing. But that'll be a fun one coming up because I really do like that movie a lot. I look very fondly as one of my favorite superhero movies is that one, even though I know a lot of people put it down. But I think when they see the director's cut, they'll change their mind a bit.
Yeah.
Until then, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, and more. You can also support us on Patreon. Just look up Old Man Orange. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We will see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorange.podcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.
We're not Alfred. What did I say? ABR. Always be recording. Batman.
I just
Yeah, I feel bad saying this. I'm almost looking more forward to that. I actually am looking more forward to that than I am Justice League.
I kid you not, I am too. Well, it's just one of those ones like the Lego movie's just so dialed in. So like, how can that not be all around Batman? Like,
and plus, it's kind of probably hard to see on that screen. But when they showed all the villains, they had like maybe just be one or two quick shots, but they literally had Clayface, Bane, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Scarecrow, and maybe someone else, Killer Croc in there. All of them on the exact same time.
well, it's like that's kind of thing. It's like I know for a fact that movie will come out, and even though it's like it's got the comedy in it, you'll be like, well, they're doing Batman exactly how it should be. They're like, just do this with a serious tone, but just like this.
Even like some of the more like comical, like even though that's like totally aimed at kids, where it's like no, he's like rolling on the ground, like
It looks like it's like just like rolling. I don't know what it is. It's the same kind of humor that's like Team America. It's like what makes that movie funny is I think the fact that they kind of take it serious, but since it's puppets, it just makes you just laugh super hard. Like, let's fight, and they're like, click, 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 click.
Yeah. They just kind of like,
And I feel like
they're just like ramming it.
when you watch a Lego thing just roll around, like it just makes you laugh.
And then like when he's naming off, like, sir, I've seen you like do the same thing, because how self-aware it is. Like I see you kind of go through the same thing back in 2016, 2012, like naming off all the years of the movie,
Like all the Batmans.
Every single Batman movie came out, and then like when he says 2016, it shows a quick shot of him as Ben Affleck Batman from like Superman, Batman v Superman. They show one from like when he says 1997, they show like the bat nipples for a second, and then like they say 66, they show like just Adam West dancing in the Batman outfit.
Yeah. No, that movie looks really good. I can't wait.
I got nothing but high hopes for that one. I don't think it's going to disappoint me. Maybe it will, but I don't think it will. So
I can't imagine it. Not after seeing. I feel like it's like I don't know. The animated teams always seem to like kind of almost have guaranteed they can't really disappoint you.
I feel a little bad. Like kind of it seems weird saying this, but like I notice now we're almost at this point where would have been a good thing for the podcast. Maybe I'll mention this later, but like
It's still fucking recording.
That's still recording? Okay. Well, we probably jump around this maybe. It almost seems like now the things that are almost super like made for everybody, like made for like, mass consumption, something like the Lego movie is probably some of the most well-made shit, which is kind of surprising. Like something like Guardians of the Galaxy, which was kind of made to be kind of like please everybody. It's sometimes ironic how that is. I don't know, because sometimes something is overproduced, and like, because you look at that, that's made for nothing more than to sell toys, only made to sell toys. But regardless, yeah, but that looks fucking funny.